and a little closer to more skiable country. So we're trying to help them out, and provide, economic opportunity for the areas here by constructing that parking lot up there, and continue to maintain a feasible and usable Nordic ski system. So basically, that's kind of it in a nutshell. So if the county, can't commit for whatever reasons to plowing that section of road, when they do plow the Chicken Creek Road, we would most likely not build that parking lot, and then the ski club would just have to look for other opportunities to try to figure out how to get people to skiable snow during those years when over towards the Jerome Moore side we're not getting it.
What's the distance from gate 1 to that corner?
I should have measured that out.
Looks like about a half a mile.
Correct. Yeah, it's not very far.
So, looking at this map, we don't access. We probably stopped plowing at gate 1 just because there's nobody else down that road. Correct? The way, if I'm seeing that correctly?
I think
We have nobody down the road, we have nobody going to school, so we have no reason to go beyond that gate to plow.
That's probably true. I do think Rob feels like he's meeting whatever expectations he was set forth. So, maybe as simple as just you talk with Rob a little bit more, and
Sure.
maybe we get a new agreement in place or something.
What,
And Jim, I spoke to Rob this morning, and he indicated to me that the county has been plowing down past gate 1, up, not all the way to the bend, but a little bit short of the bend. And I'm not sure if that's the area that you're talking about for the parking lot, or is the parking lot going to go in up at the bend?
It would go in at the bend and come back. So
Does the county,
So
is there
the-
a turnaround down there? Is that what they're using it for?
correct.
Okay.
so at gate 2 or at the first bend?
Just at the first bend is where, just to the west is where we would be building the parking lot.
Okay, so you're going a half a mile down the road just to accommodate them for, just to get a half a mile down the road or closer to the snow?
Well, like I said, sometimes the road is plowed and sometimes it isn't. So, and there's really no parking availability there near gate 1. So people are actually not even parking here in this area during the winter. They're parking over at the Chicken Creek trailhead site, which is on across the way there about 2 or 3 miles. But there's just a lot of unskiable country in there at times, depending on what kind of winter we're having. Based on the winters we've had the last 3 or 4 years, there's a lot of non-skiable country from the Chicken Creek trailhead. So by building a parking lot here, it would get them up higher in elevation and to more skiable trails. So that's the reason we're doing that. Prior to this, they were using that section of road as part of the trail system. But because there again, the county had requested we stop closing that gate, we built a whole, it's called the Rush Connector, so it goes around the private property up there and aren't utilizing that section of trail that section of road for trail anymore. That's been removed from the system. And that's because it got started being plowed on a more regular basis, or on a regular basis. So if the county just said, well, we don't want to, engage with that, well, then we would have to rethink our project and probably either not build a parking lot at all or build the parking lot closer to gate 1.
Derek,
Okay.
do you have any idea what kind of numbers are anticipated up there? Or what's been historic in the past?
Yeah, over on the other side, we, on a weekend, we'll get anywhere from 20 to 30 cars over there. So because this would get them to more skiable country, we're expecting the same. Where wanting to build a 25 car parking lot with, when then we'll have 2 pull-throughs. We get a lot of horse use up there in that area as well, but that would be more for summer than winter use. But 25 cars is something we feel is, would address the capacity need over on that end.
Derek, do we have an agreement in place for what's supposed to happen with the snow plowing currently?
We do not. Like I said, the county asserted that was their, that up to that corner was their road.
Okay, so that's why we didn't.
Right. So there's no agreement, and we didn't contest it, like I said.
Right, and I think we do have jurisdiction, but again, I'm not an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not even going to mention that. But
Right.
I guess, to me, it sounds real simple. If you're within a half a mile to walk to get to the snow, a half a mile is not a big deal.
If there's snow, that's the problem. is
Correct.
that-
If
yeah.
there's snow, you take off from gate 1 and you just go. If there is no snow, you're going to walk a half a mile to get to snow. Is that what you're saying? Because if you're only going a half a mile where the parking lot's going to be, that we're basically saying that there's going to be snow there, or are they walking
Well,
another
the
half-
parking lot isn't going to be there unless we commit to plow, is what I'm hearing. This is what's going to determine whether there's a parking lot to go to or not.
Correct, but I guess my question is, why do we need to even commit to plowing it, build a parking lot, if the snow, most people have vehicles that are going to go through at least a foot of snow. If the parking lot is there, they're going to be able to manage that on a very short distance. Now, I don't think it would be if it was 5 miles, but
Sure. So what we're asking
guess-
then is if the county prefers not to plow from gate 1 to gate 2, can we just close the gate at gate 1 and,
right.
yep.
And
So those are the two different, I
Close
guess
it
there's
there
two
and
different
then-
decisions here, or requests for decisions.
because beyond gate 1, really, there is nobody on that road.
Mhm.
There's no residences right now.
There is private land back there, though, and so this road does serve as the sole access to this piece, is what I understand from Rob. And so that certainly is something we want to consider too, because, I mean, in essence, if it gets shut off at gate 1, then we're blocking off access to a county landowner up further.
And we are currently working with the county, or sorry, the private landowner for a road use permit, because they want access beyond gate 2, but they only want it for the time that it's open to the public. So basically, this is one of our seasonal restriction roads where we would close it when snow, dictated that we should shut it. So that isn't that much of a concern, at this point in time, because we are working with them on that. And if they requested winter use, we would work with them on that. But at this point in time, they're saying, no, we don't want winter use, just use when it's available to the public, because there's another section of road that isn't available to the public that they want a road use permit for, that we're going to be working with them on in addition. And then we're going to include a little piece there so that they can do maintenance and stuff if they want on the Forest Service side. But yeah, just so you have that information as well.
Okay. I mean, I have concerns because I'll tell you, when Dolores County closed the Dolores Norwood Road this year and they put those gates across there, that created a huge turmoil
Mhm.
for a lot of people that own property up there, because now you couldn't access it on the road. Obviously, when the road blows in, you can't access it, but you can still access it with a different mode of transportation. Created a lot of problems. So to close the gate, I struggle with that. But I also struggle for the commitment to say, hey, you need to plow it another half a mile. I think that's, if you leave the gate open, people have good enough judgment to know when they can and cannot get in and out of there. And the people that don't are going to get stuck. I mean, it's really kind of that simple.
Mhm.
I don't see a reason to not go ahead with the project in the parking lot. I don't personally want to close that gate after the turmoil that I saw this winter with Dolores County on that road. And not that we're in Dolores County, but we got a lot of phone calls over that road closure.
Yep, as did I.
It was a bad deal.
I bet you
It was
did.
It was a bad deal.
Mhm.
And so I struggle with closing the gate.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
and-
also keep in mind, I mean, we do close gate number 2.
Correct,
so
but that
nobody-
goes into your jurisdiction of the Forest Service. You have that opportunity and that right. I get it, but all the private ground is within this lower section. Now, there could be some above it, and if it has winter closures, then obviously we go into the Forest Service up to groundhog in those areas also.
Right, it's just, it's all the same landowner, I guess is my point, and
Yeah.
they're fine with, they'd be fine if gate number 1 was closed, from what I understand.
I just
That's
think,
the
I just
Reddits.
think conceivably it sets a dangerous precedent to
Yeah.
start putting a
Close the
gate
road.
across what, very arguably could be a county right-of-way.
And-
Well, the
and
gate's
we're-
there already.
Yeah,
But there's certainly a
But it's
difference
open.
between it being open and
Oh,
closed.
definitely, definitely.
which is what, I mean, we're dealing with a few issues, well, not a few, but one issue right now with the same thing of closing a gate that actually is a public right-of-way, and then it closes off the public to get down the road, even though it goes through the private ground, but the right-of-way still is the jurisdiction of the counties. So.
Well, and what I understood from Rob earlier is it didn't sound like it was a huge problem to plow to a certain point on that road. Now, I don't know if where Rob can plow to is exactly to where the parking lot would go in or not. I mean, it may be that we don't have an issue at this
Well,
point
if
in
the
time.
parking lot's big enough, then they can turn a machine around there. That's typically when they plow into like a dead-end area, then they can't get turned around.
Mhm.
The machine has to back a mile down the road, and that doesn't work. However, if the parking lot is created and they can actually turn the machines around, then I think it's.
And that's
a
basically
half
the
a
way I
mile,
would,
not
yeah.
a
But that's the
big
reason that
distance.
90-degree, because there's some no parking signs and stuff at that location, because that's where the county had asked to be able to plow to, and then not to allow parking there, because we do get people in the winter
Yep.
parking there in that area.
And then it closes the road anyway.
Well, it doesn't close the road per se, but it prohibits the trucks from being able to turn around.
Yeah.
So
I
it
think-
does appear that there is public benefit to doing that snow plowing, at least up to the big bend in the road.
Right.
So, even regardless of whether there's people that live up there beyond that, there's clearly that benefit. And it does appear that it provides, creates new opportunities for access into the public lands, at least get some cars off the road, if nothing else.
So what is your criteria for plowing? Is it 6 inches or greater, or what is the, for your travel plan? I mean, is there because until there's at least 4 inches, we can't even plow it anyway,
Right.
because there's not.
And that's what it is, it's 4 inches. We
Is it-
ask that 4 inches of snow be left just for snow machines, if people want to get back there on snow machines. But gate number 2 actually prohibits snow machines from getting beyond that point, so we don't get a lot of snow machine use up there. But that's the standard that we use for our roads, is 4 inches of, leaving 4 inches of snow in case snow machines want or need to get up there.
Okay. I think we just need to have a little further conversation with Rob, and then we can decide, because I know, a half a mile is not, it's not that much farther.
Okay.
I don't really like the idea of closing the gate
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah, and
That-
I mean,
that
that's been
worries
the
me.
norm, for the last, as long as I've been here, so that's not our main, issue there. It's just that if it was gonna be left, because that's another thing that happens, is that people will push it, and then when they make that 90-degree turn and get to gate 2, there's a little bit of an uphill, and they just make a mess there. So, yeah, if there again, the county was amenable to allowing gate number 1 to be closed because there wasn't an interest in plowing, then there again, there would be that side benefit of not, having those issues as far as damage to the road system beyond the 90-degree there.
Okay. Okay.
And so just so I'm clear, you'd be asking that the county plow to the 90-degree where the parking lot is, or all the way to gate 2?
Just to the 90-degree.
That's okay.
Correct.
So the total roadway there to gate number 2, 3/4 of a mile, probably, guessing?
From
Gate
the
1 to gate
90-degree
2.
to, maybe I think it might be another half. Yeah,
Okay.
half to 3/4.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
let's get Rob in here,
let's-
visit
yeah.
with him, see what we can get done.
Yeah, I mean, you had emailed him and asked
Yeah,
him to
I-
be here,
I'd
so I'm not
actually-
sure where he is.
Emailed him, so I'm not sure where he's at, but
Okay.
it's okay. I know what you want.
Okay, sounds good.
I really struggle after this winter with that gate being closed on the Dolores Norwood Road. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, that road was never plowed and the snow closed it, but until you actually close the gate, as I well know, you don't realize how many people, actually use a route until you close that gate and then
Oh,
you hear
yeah.
about it.
And
Did you
all
ever
I could
have a
say-
situation like that with public lands gating off roads and there being large-scale community backlash?
Not much at all, no.
Is all I could say is that's Dolores County. Call those other 3 guys over there.
Right.
Actually, that was the beginning of Larry Don and Keenan's term on a wide scale.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
All right.
All
Anything else?
That is all.
Good.
All right.
I see you lifted your stage 1 fire restriction.
We did.
Good.
Yep, no, we're getting, pretty good rain, and it's been pretty general across the forest. I know these lower lands aren't getting as much consistent rain and general rain anyways, so we understand, the county's staying in their fire bans. And then the few lightning fires that we have gotten, are not moving at all. They're pretty much, restricted themselves to the one tree, and we haven't had any issues with public, leaving. Well, we have had problems with people leaving abandoned campfires, but because of the moisture we received prior to lifting the ban, they weren't, expanding beyond the fire ring, so that was good.
Don't jinx this.
Right, exactly.
Good. That's awesome.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, I guess I maybe have one more thing for you, is just, I met with the town of Dolores again this morning with regards to the use of County Road 31 and the Dolores Norwood Road. And they just indicated that they would probably be in contact with you to have some discussion about that. So just give you that heads up.
Is that for the
Salter project.
for the Salter? Yeah. And that. Okay. Well, they have a meeting tonight. I'm sure they'll discuss it.
Mhm. I think they are going to discuss that.
I'll
they
be
said.
there. And what is their biggest turmoil still? Is it the engine brakes or is it the condition of the road? What is it?
It's more the impacts to the town based on noise and then the level of traffic, down 11th Street.
But still, if we look at those traffic counts, we broke it out to 9 per day, or on the average 9 a day. Now it could be more, it could be less, depending on the, what they're doing. But on average, it was still only 9 a day, right?
Correct.
So 1,800 annually. So
Potentially, yes.
yeah, okay. I'm sure I'll visit with them this evening.
Okay. All right, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Derek. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Spratlen, come on down. Let's discuss an MOU with the Red Cross.
Yes, sir.
This document wasn't 300 pages long. I was a little disappointed.
I know, I thought it was, you wait. I got more coming for you at the end of the year, but yeah, this is a short and
You
sweet.
didn't get 50 emails about it either.
No, only 20.
Yeah, you probably got at least 2 emails about it, right? So, yeah, this is the standard document. We ran it by our attorney, and he's happy with it. We did add one small paragraph to section 2 where it talks about parties. The second paragraph, we added in Colorado Revised Statute Title 24, and we just talked a little bit about that. I think Ian was fine with the document the way it was. Technically, Red Cross and I can sign for this, but I thought it'd be great to have you guys on board to see this MOU. It's pretty much a lot of great help from the Red Cross and how they've been assisting us. And
That's pretty much how we function right now anyway, correct?
yeah,
This basically says we'll play nicely together.
S-
Let's It's nice to have. It's nice to have the details spelled out of who we each are.
So I would like to point out what they added under parties about the statutes, that there really is no party quite like a Colorado Revised Statute party. They're the best.
Yeah, so it's short and sweet, but, a lot of the MOUs that we have, I've collected them over the last year and a half, and we're gonna slowly start revising them, or even if they're still needed. But this one was kind of important, because we always work well with Red Cross, so this is just kind of making it official, and having you guys sign off on it just makes it all the better,
Yep.
So,
I don't have any questions. I mean, I read it, and
Okay.
it's pretty much the way we're functioning right now. It just is, it actually has it in a MOU form.
right.
Kent, do you have any?
No, I don't. The MOU looked good. It's been in place for quite a while.
Yep, pretty much, yeah. And our last fire up there on private land, this gentleman, I called him right away, and he came down and fed our firefighters up there at Pleasant View, so it's part of that agreement as well. So they've been a big help to us, and I want to keep that going, so this will make everybody happy. Get it in writing,
We have very generous donors, and they want us to do things like this.
right, yeah.
So do you primarily work with the emergency manager, or do you work with the fire chiefs
Work with Chief
individually?
Jay a lot. Lately, a lot on our preparedness stuff, the home fire campaign. He's doing some smoke alarm installations on our behalf. We'll be ramping that up. Well, we're going to do that year round. That we provide the smoke alarms, and the fire department, when they're out on calls, can see if somebody needs one and put it in.
Good. Okay.
Pretty
We'll,
active, so.
we'll bring this up tomorrow under unfinished business,
Yep.
and then we can take action on it there, but I don't have any other
Nope,
questions,
good.
comments, or concerns, especially if you don't. Ian.
Yeah, I looked through it. It looks fine to me. We just made a couple changes, like Jim
Alright.
said, to the section
Anything? You
2,
good?
Just
and
the
should be good to go.
expiration
Okay.
Should be spelled out.
Oh,
Do you want to
okay.
put that on there for me, Shaq?
I will, I'll get with you. We got a minor change.
There's a couple places where the boilerplate wasn't replaced.
Whoop.
Page 7, subparagraph 14, RedCross will support local emergency management agency. We could stay as it is, or we could spell it out, Montezuma County OEM. And then paragraph Roman numeral 5, the expiration date would be
I got July 27th,
2026, right? It's
Yeah.
just not spelled out, that's all.
I guess we could add that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I left that part out because
Okay,
I wasn't
never
sure what
filled
date
it
we
out
were going to
because
sign it.
Pretty much said no later than 5 years, so I
Right.
figured that was good enough. But we can add a date in there. Is that what you're looking for? Okay.
Well, just, if we eventually have other jobs, the guys after us might not be as smart, and,
Can't add 5 onto the, yeah, okay. I can fix that, so I'll have that up here for you tomorrow for everybody to sign.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Good?
All right.
Thanks, Charlie. Nick?
Okay, Mr. McClain.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is kind of a two-part thing. I invited Rick and Drew so we could do a little post recap on the fiber project that we joined forces on,
Okay.
and then to have you take some other things under consideration if you guys want to join me, Rick. And I kind of mentioned it the other day, but for all intended purposes, the project went off without a hitch. You always have a few hiccups, but we got through them. Other than power at the hut, of which you guys will see when we go down there for a tour, we're getting really close to being able to start lighting people up south of town, which is a big deal. The splicing's being done now. So I'd like to say that I think it was a success for the city of Cortez and Montezuma County. It really, I will tell you that there's a lot of people that were watching this project from out in the rest of Colorado and some other parts. And when Kristine and Nancy come up, we can go a little bit more detail about it, but Rick and I are joining and going up to the Broadband Summit in Keystone in August, in about 2 weeks. And I'm one of the speakers on there to talk about this project. They're really interested how we pulled this off.
We just did it.
It's called just getting it done,
That's what it is.
basically.
That's exactly what it is. And, you know, I can't express my appreciation for you guys, you know, understanding the importance of this, and taking the lead on this and getting it done. It's a big deal. And so I wanted to say thank you, and then that brings up the other part of this. And Rick and I had a discussion about and I know that there are some discussions about the ARP money and some last mile broadband stuff, and I really would like the commissioners to take it under consideration, because we are getting quite a bit of push from down south where this project is done about a lot of people that would like to get hooked up, and that's all going to be last mile type stuff. So in fact, I can tell you that Nice Electric just bought the old Shooter World building, and they would like to get, you know where I'm talking about, down by next Dollar Tree, by Dollar Tree.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Nice Electric bought that, and they want broadband, they want fiber.
Are they going to keep the indoor range?
Probably not.
I doubt it.
Maybe for breaks and lunch hour, I don't know.
So, yeah, we have an opportunity to do some last mile stuff off of the handholds down there by Love's and tie up a lot. We can get the fire district station down there. I went down there and walked it, and Chuck Martin's agreed to give us, if we do this, he's got another sleeve that runs under the road, under the highway, that he'll give us access to, so we don't have to bore. And we can pick up Fraley's and the doggy bed and breakfast, the fire district, Antique Corral, Lamke's house, Belt Salvage. We can catch a lot of that area down there pretty quick.
So this is all the last mile.
This would be last mile.
So was that actually in the ARP money, or was that in that 360 million they put across for Colorado? Was that?
Last mile is ARP. The other
That's
one
ARP.
will allow middle mile,
Middle mile, okay.
So
which
the
most of our
project that you
counties
all
still
funded
needs
was
middle mile.
The project I'm talking about going forward with is trying to access some of the ARP money and get some people hooked up.
To the actual home, yeah.
Correct. And build upon the momentum we have down there from what we've already built.
And for the city, I'd like to thank the commissioners again for the successful project. But for us, our ultimate goal is to get fiber to the airport, which this, down that little corridor on Road G would get us a good start to that. And in fact, City Manager Drew had me put in the 5-year capital for taking it from that point on down to the airport in the budget process. We'll see if it survives, but we're anxious to expand the partnership that we've got going on with the county, and I'd like to thank you both, or the commission, for their help and support on this project. We did run into some material issues there, but we finally got the handholds in. Matter of fact, some stuff is getting plumb crazy right now, so we were fortunate that we started when we did. I would hate to try to get that done now with the long lead times on some materials. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Drew, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I can't top what you guys just offered, so thank you.
I think it was a good, you know, a good partnership between the two entities. Obviously, it serves that they're all our people. I mean, whether they're in the city and the county, it's still all the county. So they're all our people is the way I look at it, and it's successful for everybody, for the community as a whole, to get some of the things done specifically because of COVID. So hopefully we can continue and make things better. It's just a matter of, obviously, as always, a funding source. So
Very good. Thank you.
I don't have any other questions. I mean, I think we'll look at the money to see what we can do in the middle mile and then the last mile, but it seems like the biggest portion of that money is for those two purposes.
And I see Shaq put up this memo of understanding that would be between Montezuma County and the 2210 Cortez. Jim,
Okay.
I don't know if that's something that you were going to talk about.
Yeah.
Or you want me to
You
bring up?
guys wanna come up? I'll give it one.
I see we've got the same parties.
Yeah, I wrote most of it with Jim's help, but there's a couple things in here that you guys are just going to have to decide, so we can change it as you want. But
So, you guys know Kristine?
Yes.
Yep.
And then this is Nancy from 2210. So one of the things that came up, obviously, and I kind of put a bug, I think, in your ear a while back ago about this, but, you know, the fiber is only as good as the people that are going to use it and get it lit up, right? I mean, otherwise it's just a resource sitting in the ground. And the county as a whole, we're not really in any position to manage the fiber. In other words, we don't have the staff nor the funds to do it, because it's a kind of a big job. Somebody has to manage it, and what I mean by manage it is pretty straightforward. It just means that somebody's in charge of, like, say you're an ISP provider and you want to provide service to, you know, Blue Door Traders down there, then it would be, you would have to contact whoever owns the fiber to see if you could lease that fiber, because you're the ISP. And in this case, you would reach out to 2210, and they would work the arrangement out with you to provide you fiber as an ISP, and then therefore you could provide service. It's pretty straightforward. And you know, there was a lot of research going on about this, how to handle this best for the county, and obviously I went over the MOU with Ian too, and it's really kind of a win-win for us, because we don't really have to do anything. They'll do all the work, and we get 50% of the revenue back from the lease of the fiber. It goes into an account and just sits there and for maintenance and stuff like that on the fiber.
So would this require the creation of a special fund?
I would say yes. My gut instinct tells me yes.
Okay.
yeah, I don't know the answer on the special fund question. I'm going to need to look into that.
Well, if the
it's
funds
gonna
could
be
not be mixed with other
Income
funds.
coming in,
Yep.
it needs to be specific
Yeah.
to that. So I would probably say yes.
It would have to be like a broadband revenue.
Chris Majors will be here tomorrow. We can ax him.
That would definitely be a question for Chris.
Our thought was we could have an escrow account where we put everything in, and then once a year when we settle up, then that would just be transferred to the county, and then if you have a special fund for it to go into, or I don't know if you'd need it run separately.
I think we touched on in the MOU that the payments would be made yearly.
Yep.
So as far as the
And-
accounting piece, I'd say we talked to Chris about that. The one thing in this MOU that I think I wanted to bring to your guys' attention, down at the bottom, there's a term there. Jim and I talked about it. I think right now it talks about a 25-year term. That's a long term, obviously. Certainly this thing, it's an MOU. You guys can pull out of it at any time. And so the advantage of a longer term is it's less hassle. We're not having to go back every so often and do it. But then, on the flip side, it's a 25-year term. So that can be modified. I mean, if you want to look at a 5-year term or a 10-year term, that's fine. But that's just something you guys are going to have to decide how long you want the term of this thing to be.
And there is some reasoning for that. I'll let Nancy touch on that, why we started with that.
Yeah, the reason we started with that is usually when you sell out dark fiber, you sell out what we call IRUs. So you're leasing out IRUs to a customer, like let's just name a customer that could be a carrier that wants to transport data here in Cortez. So you would lease out these fibers for, let's say, 25 years to them at a monthly rate. And so we would have to match and honor that. But we could make a paragraph in there that states, let's say our relationship with the county in 2210 is no longer needed. You say that's fine, but the revenue that's going to be collected for 25 years off of those two fibers, off of those IRUs we call them, would still be split until that customer no longer pays. So that's the reason for the long term, because nobody wants to invest into fiber that's in the infrastructure in the ground that's taking services to your home like cloud, like internet and all the different applications that are sitting out there that the community will use. And their investment is saying, okay, I'll lease these fibers, but I'm going to sell data services on there. I would at least like to have them for 10 to 25 years. Now, we do them in terms of 10, then 5 years increments after that. But we could write a paragraph, and I could help draft what we've used in other places in Denver, Colorado, because that's where I built out a huge data carrier facility called 910 Telcom. And I've been there for over 16 years there, and we do unique things as such and write paragraphs to protect each side in case something has a fallout, so that you still get paid for the customer base that you brought in.
So just so I'm clear, hypothetically speaking, say we enter into this MOU, and in 5 years, your company decides, hey, we don't want, or we decide we don't want to work with 2210 Cortez anymore. At that point, we terminate this MOU, and then you're saying, though, that you have to enter into agreements with third parties for a longer term? Is that the way I
Yes.
understand it?
Anytime you sell any type of fiber that's in the ground, and you're leasing, we're not selling the actual fiber, you're leasing the fiber.
Right.
So in that lease, you would be collecting money. If the term says 10 years, be collecting it for 10 years. It's a contract, right? So you're going to have a set amount of money coming in on an annually basis. Let's keep it annually. So whatever, let's say $500. So that's $500 you're going to get every year for 10 years. So let's say that you say, you know, after 5 years we decide someone not to have the same relationship. That doesn't stop that other contract from still using that IRUs. So you're still going to be collecting on an annual basis. You don't collect for the whole 10 years up front.
But technically, if we were to terminate the relationship, how would you guys continue to have access to the cable, to the fiber?
The one that has the access to those IRUs is the carrier or the customer that's purchasing and leasing those fibers. So visualize it like you have a fiber in the ground that's taking data across, and you're going to have a piece of equipment in location A and in location Z. When we go out for a tour, we could kind of show you how that works. And so they're actually leasing, like if you have an apartment house, you lease out an apartment, right? And you're leasing, that term is for 10 years. So that person that's renting your house is going to be in it for 10 years. So you're going to get an income for 10 years.
I understand the general premise. I guess where I get hung up is ultimately the county owns the fiber. And so, I mean, if we're agreeing to let you use it, and then you're leasing it out for a period of 10 plus years, and after 5 years we decide that we don't want you to use it anymore, then in essence, I
Well,
mean,
you have
doesn't
to
that-
break your contract with your customer, because the customer really isn't 2210's customer. The customer is Montezuma County's customer. It's your fiber. We're going out and we're marketing relationships that we're having, and a carrier says we'd like to be able to use fiber in the ground. And they call that IRUs. So they're the ones that are, it's a third-party contract that we create, because there's one more contract that goes between, called an IRU contract, which we'll share with you. And that would be stating Montezuma County that we're letting customer X use these and lease these IRUs for amount of time. Now, we could sit down and talk in the future, and we could draw it out. We could have a meeting, and I could show you how, I'm gonna be here all week, how that process works. And then you would just have to add that license agreement, that's a third-party license agreement, to behind this contract to show how it works. And
So
you're
in
leasing.
the,
We don't own it.
You were just
in
our
the
marketing
apartment
agent.
analogy, or in the rental property analogy, we're the landlords, and Jim is the occupant,
manager.
and you guys are Remax. You guys are doing the property managing.
Yeah,
And
but-
he's renting the
Yeah,
property.
they're just a management company. That's all they are.
They're just managing the fiber.
And so
The
our
collections
contract
and the
would still be
customers.
with the third party if it's whoever.
Yes.
And that
Okay.
contract stays into that condition of whether it's 20, 25 years.
Because that carrier is going to want to make sure that
They
you know,
have
they can
that
keep that for the
secured.
full 10 years.
Right. Where our
So
MOU
even
that
if you
we're
take us
talking
out
about
the
is just
picture.
with 2210,
Mhm.
which is basically the marketing.
Yep, okay,
Okay, for us.
yeah, I understand.
Correct.
Yeah,
Great.
it's, yeah, we'll give you the other pieces to it to help you out.
Yeah, and yeah, if you could send over those IRD contracts, that'd be awesome too, just so I have that in front of me.
Okay.
So I guess when I read that also, 25 years seems a little bit long, but I understand from somebody that's wanting to provide that service, the longer contract is better because their fees are going to be able to stay consistent for 25 years. And I get it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the term's up to you guys, and,
Yep.
and I mean, I understand what you guys are saying. It seems like, based on that, it makes sense to go with the longer term, but ultimately, I mean, you're the one that makes the final call on that.
Okay. Yeah, so
So-
if you can send the rest of those to Ian, that way we can look those over.
The one more question I would have for the commission is, if they sign into this for a 25-year agreement, are they committing future commissions to a payment for 25 years?
Not with these people as an MOU, it would, if a contract is signed for the 25 years with
The customer
the
carries it.
customer,
Mhm.
then that does, I would think that would bind us to
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we would
language.
have a binding contract with the customer at least for
Correct.
25 years,
Yeah.
not with 2210 Cortez.
Correct.
But that's them paying us, not us paying them, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. It's, obviously, this is not something I deal with on a regular basis, these sorts of fiber contracts, but the premise makes sense. And so, and I think this MOU lays out at least our relationship with 2210 Cortez and the expectations on both sides.
Which is all we're considering right now is the relationship between us.
Yep.
How you market it and sell it is
It's up to them.
beyond that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, certainly the MOU lays out, it doesn't create a legal obligation per se. This is a working relationship. It lays it out, it puts it on paper, and we'll continue to work with 2210 Cortez, and they'll do the same for us. But if after 5 years we decide we want to go a different direction, you guys can do that.
Correct.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
And likewise, it's non-binding either way.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who is 2210?
I'm sorry, is that again?
Who is 2210?
2210, which we're going to be announcing this, by the way, as Jim kind of told you at Mountain Connect. We're a neutral data carrier facility. If you look at it, we're trying to make it where right now the way everything is set up like a monopoly. We're bringing in more carriers, from my experience, I did this in Denver also, so that our customers, home customers, business customers have choices. They're not stuck with just one carrier or one application or one broadband user. You would be able to say, I don't want to stay with CenturyLink. I'd like to go on, let's just call it customer B, C, and D. I don't want to give out names right now, but different carriers. So you have a neutral data center where they could come in, everyone brings in their fiber, and they will be able to make a choice and say, I could choose A or C for my providing, to provide my services, for storing data or for internet services or for whatever your needs are. So we created a data center. I was going to mirror something like we've done at in Denver. If you Google 910 Telcom, you'll see that's a huge, it's probably the top 5 in the United States. There's 5 buildings like that. And then looking at that model, of course, the city of Cortez in this county could serve quite a few, 4 different states, such as Phoenix. They would be able to hit Denver. They would be able to transport data to New Mexico, to Utah. So you get to hit all these different, and we could bring business into the city of Cortez for redundancy, for disaster recovery, things as such. So we decided to look at that model, and we said this would be a good place because there's no data center, to my knowledge, in this region anywhere. And there is a need for one here. So that's why we chose to open up one.
And I should add too, that it is 2210 that really put us over the hump with this project. They kind of stepped up to the plate on the private side of things, and when you guys will get to see it when we go on the tour here. But they put the HUD in, which is kind of like a meet me or a cross connect. And I'll explain it when we get in there.
I'm a little disappointed that you refer to it as a hut and not a shack.
What could be a shack? I called it Jabba the Hutt, but they didn't like it.
Okay.
But I could make it a shack.
If we
you want.
Thank
end up
you.
with another one,
We'll
we'll
call
name
it
it
a
after you.
Thank you. That's all I ask.
But he has no say in it, so
Good point.
he has wishes that may never come to fruition.
Yeah.
That's what they have the Make-A-Wish Foundation for.
That's correct.
I think you should donate.
So, I think we're good. If you guys want to go on the tour, we can run down there and go look at it, or,
So there's two places, 2210, which is over by West Slope Liquors over there, behind the DMV.
Good cover.
And then, for those of you that need a break from me, you can just drive right through the drive-through at West Slope Liquors on your way home.
We're not picking anything up for you.
And then we'll drive down to the Hut, which is right behind you.
The what?
Right by the pawn shop down there on G2.
why are they all by liquor stores?
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's a good question. You could look at that another way. Why are the liquor stores by us?
I don't know.
It's
They
a
were
busy
there
place, I'll
first.
tell you that much.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that all we have?
That's all
Well,
I've
with
got.
that, for the people on YouTube, we're gonna take a tour, and when we get done, we will close this meeting. So have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Is it going to be a 3-hour tour?
Yes,
don't
and the
think so.
skipper will be there.